Alright, so in this question they tell us that the data in the table below are graphed and the slope is examined. The rate of change represented in this table can be described as which of the following? Well, the goal here for rate of change or slope is to look at the way in which y is changing along with x. If you remember, slope, right, is delta y, or the change in y, over delta x, the change in x. It literally means how is y changing as a ratio to how x is changing. Now, in this situation, if we notice, let's say we start on this row, we go from 9 to 8.75, what just happened to y? Well, y decreased by 0.25, right? So here we can't conclude it's a negative slope yet, just because y is going down. The key is to understand, well, if y goes down, what is x doing? Well, here, if we start in the same location, right, x is at 0.5, and it's going up to 1. So it's going up by 0.5. So this combination where x is increasing, the delta x is positive, and your y is decreasing, right? That means your delta y is negative. This gives you a negative rate of change, or negative slope, choice 1. And we can think of this as a graph, on a graph as well, right, with these points 0.59, 1, 8.75. So if we think of those as 2 points on a graph, let's say we have 0.5 comma 9, and then we have 1 comma 8.75. These are 2 points, or they can be thought of as 2 points on a graph. So we set up our axes, right? We have, let's say, our y-axis here, our x-axis, and if you graph these 2 points, you'll quickly see that this, in fact, is, right, a negative correlation. So we have the first point, 0.59. We go over to 0.5. Let's say it's here, and then up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's this point right here. And the point 1 here, 8.75, is here, let's say, and if you kept graphing this trend, you would get a line, and you could see that the slope is negative of this line. And with negative slope, just remember, it's not about one variable decreasing. It's about, as one variable decreases, does the other do the opposite? This opposite type of change between both variables is what defines a negative slope. A positive slope is either when x is increasing with y or decreasing with y. So if y was going up, right, x is going up as well. But if y was decreasing and x was also decreasing, that would also be a positive slope. Here, a zero slope, well, this is on a graph. Let's go back to the graph for a second. A positive slope, you might think of something like this, right? A line like this. Some people say the line's going up, but really what's happening is as x increases, so does y. A zero slope is a flat line, right, a line with no increase or decrease. In terms of a table, if you look at some of these points on the line that I just drew, let's look at these 2 points. This first point, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, up 2, so it's negative 4, 2. And the other point is negative 5, 6, 7, 2. You'll notice here that no matter what the input, the output is always 2. That's a zero slope. So in a table, that might look something like this, with your x and your y, with this line that I drew right here. For example, no matter what x I throw in, right, I always get 2 for my y value. So when you have changing inputs or x values and y is always the same value, that's a zero slope. You can also calculate that zero slope, right? M would be equal, you find slope m by subtracting your 2 y values over your 2 x values. And what's going to happen here is you're going to get 0 over negative 4 minus negative 7. That's really 0 over negative 4 plus 7. Negative 4 plus 7, excuse me, is 3. And 0 over 3 is just 0. So a zero slope, right, has no change in your y values here. So that's no change. Now an undefined slope, right, is when you have a vertical line. And that's really a fun situation, because having a vertical line means that for one input, let's say in this case x is negative 6 and y is 3, 4, 5. at this point. So you have negative 6 for x and 5 for y, but any x value you plug in, for that same x value that you plug in, you can also get a different y value, like negative 6, 0. So in an undefined slope, it's a vertical line, and you get every possible y value for a single x value. And that's a bizarre situation, right? You have one input and infinite outputs. So like in here we have negative 6 as our x value. You can get anything for your y value. And that's what an undefined slope might look like. In a table, what would an undefined slope look like? Well, you can imagine that in the scenario we just gave, right? Basically, x is always negative 6. But y could be anything, 1, 2, 100. You put in your input, negative 6, and you can get any output. Thank you.